A human source from inside the Trump organization. Bombshell testimony now coming to light about the Trump dossier, but that's just one of a few shocking details that have been revealed by Fusion GPS's co-founder Glenn Simpson.
Here to help us sort through the latest developments is Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz. Thanks for joining us this morning, Matt. I just want to get your initial reaction when you saw the documents that were released.
It's quite something. We're here now at the one-year anniversary of this dossier, and it really draws into some context how much we've learned over that year. A year ago, we didn't know that the Democratic Party was involved in paying for this dossier, and we also didn't know that the FBI had relied on it in any way. Some of Glenn Simpson's testimony seems to indicate at some level there was a reliance by the FBI on this dossier, and that's just outrageous considering the fact that this is an opposition research campaign document that was dressed up as an intelligence document and then potentially used as a basis to spy on Americans. So another day, another stunning development in the bias that's working against President Trump that we have to expose and uncover in the Congress.
Sir, what we found out yesterday through, I guess, what was released by Senator Feinstein is that the FBI had some kind of a source inside the Trump campaign, which may bring, I guess, some legitimacy to the dossier and what was believed to be in the dossier. Do you follow what I'm saying here?
I do. That's a reference to George Papadopoulos.
Right.
So there's two fact patterns that the American people can believe if they choose. The first is that George Papadopoulos getting drunk in a London pub and talking about how Vladimir Putin hates Hillary Clinton was the basis of an entire counterintelligence investigation. To me, the far more likely fact pattern is that you had a FBI that was so politicized during the Obama administration that they were willing to rely on campaign material, salacious and unverified campaign material that was partially drafted and curated by Nellie Orr, the wife of a senior Justice Department official, Bruce Orr, and that was the reason that this was relied upon to launch a counterintelligence investigation. To me, it's far more likely that the Fusion GPS dossier was something that was used as a basis for that investigation than one guy getting drunk in a London pub and saying what the whole world knew, which is that Vladimir Putin did not think very highly of Hillary Clinton.
One of the things that people are talking about this morning is this comment from Josh Levy, who is Glenn Simpson's lawyer. And the comment is somebody's already been killed as a result of the publication of this dossier, and no harm should come to anybody related to this honest work. When you're talking about a human life that is gone now as a result of this, potentially, at least that's what the statement says, what are your thoughts?
Well, it's very serious, but it's yet another unverified statement from the folks associated with Fusion GPS. It really leaves hanging a major question, but not an answer, not a way for us to determine whether or not that's in fact true. And so yet again, it's another shiny object that is a distraction, and hopefully we'll be able to identify this document for what it is, a campaign document paid for by Democrats, relied upon by an overly politicized FBI and Department of Justice. Not something that ever should have been the basis for a counterintelligence investigation. More unverified information that's a distraction for the country.
All right. Well, when Senator Feinstein released this yesterday, it also came with a statement, and let's bring that up for a second, when she put out all this information that we're learning about the Glenn Simpson testimony. The American people deserve the opportunity to see what he said and judge for themselves. The innuendo and misinformation circulating about the transcript are part of a deeply troubling effort to undermine the investigation. Now, firstly, you've got now both sides, yourself, sir, and also Senator Feinstein, are both saying that the other side's trying to cover this thing up and are both calling for transparency. That's kind of interesting to me. I mean, how do you have both sides claiming the same thing about the other?
Well, I think that transparency is a virtue and that we ought to be conducting more of these hearings in the open so that the American people can see these things in real time. The challenge with what Senator Feinstein did is that it violates the protocols that give confidence in these type of investigations. And so when you originally set the rules that testimony is being given in a confidential setting and you then violate those rules, it has very serious consequences. I mean, we were talking in the last question about someone dying as a consequence of information being released in And if that's true, and we have no reason to believe that it is or isn't, frankly, it underscores the importance of being able to maintain the commitments that the Congress makes during the pendency of these investigations.
And can the senator face, could she be punished for this in some way? Is there something that could be coming for her for releasing this?
Well, that's up to the Senate. They have a process by which they can enforce accountability and they can enforce their rules. We don't really see a Senate where rule enforcement is all that prevalent today, but I certainly think that this undermines the work of the Congress. And we ought to say at the front end that these are going to be open hearings where the American people can see the content of testimony. We shouldn't be enticing people in under one standard and then altering that standard for politics. That's not the way oversight should work in the Congress.
Congressman Matt Gaetz, thank you so much for joining us this morning and for your insight.